Afternoon, fourth grade champions. We are continuing our read of Out of My Shell, a compelling story, not only about the loggerhead turtle, but of our main character. So we're beginning on chapter 16, page 147. And again, we have our little note about loggerhead turtles. Baby sea turtles have a sharp, temporary egg tooth at the top of their beaks called a caruncle. There you go, caruncle. The bony caruncle helps the hatchling slice through the eggshell. So I guess they use that to slice through the eggshell, and then when they're out of the eggshell, I guess that little tooth, they don't keep it. They lose it. They lose a tooth. I turned a corner, walked around the dune nearest the beachcomber, and found a man yanking one of my driftwood posts from the ground. "What do you think you're doing?" I screeched. "Can't you see there's a nest?" The man nonchalantly ditched the post and retrieved a walkie-talkie from his belt. That's when I noticed the beachcomber insignia embroidered above the pocket on his polo shirt. "Mr. Shah," he spoke into the portable radio, "we have a situation out here. There's a little girl. She doesn't want me to, remove the obstruction." "Little girl obstruction?" I fired back. I was spun as mad as a cyclone from my spat with Mom. And now this? "I see her," Mr. Shaw's voice boomed over the walkie-talkie. "I'm headed your way." I whipped around until I spotted the beachcomber's owner slinking out from under the patio cover. He was wearing that infuriating plastic smile, but the glare in his eyes was extra menacing. Marching through the gate, I met him halfway. "You can't take it down," I protested. "It's not an obstruction." A woman reading near the pool lowered her book and stared at us from above her aviator sunglasses. Mr. Shaw laid his hand gently on my shoulder. "I understand your concern." He was so controlled, so composed, so obviously used to dealing with irate customers. I shrugged him off. Mr. Shaw sighed deeply and said, "Let's go see, shall we?" He casually meandered toward the gate and I followed along. I wasn't naive this time. I knew he was moving us out of range of any eavesdroppers, but I went along with it because we were headed to the nest. Once we'd exited the pool area and the woman went back to her book, he said, "Why do you think people visit Anna Maria Island?" Without missing a beat, he answered his own question: "To relax and enjoy the white, sandy beaches." Then, as we came upon the worker with the portable radio, he dismissed him. "Thanks, Alex," he said. "I can take it from here." Alex nodded and left, and it was only me and Mr. Shaw standing over the nest and my half-removed barrier. It was uncomfortable, but I refused to be intimidated. I learned my lesson. He wouldn't chase me off again. People might say they come for the wildlife, the manatees, dolphins, and sea turtles, but that's true only so long as they aren't inconvenienced by them. Your average vacationer doesn't want to pick up trash or forgo his disposable plastic bottle for the sake of marine life. This thing you've put up, it's cute. I'm sure your intentions are good. But what happens if one of my guests wants to bring a wagon down this path? He'd have to go around the front of the inn and down a few blocks to find public beach access. Mr. Shaw spoke haughtily, as if explaining all of this to a much younger child. What good is beachfront property if the path to the ocean is obstructed? Do you think tourists would rather have memories and photos of this garbage, he pointed at my barrier, or of the clean, pristine beaches we promise our guests? "I think they'd want the baby turtles to live," I said stubbornly. Mr. Shaw frowned. His perfectly coiffed hair stood its ground against the strong ocean breeze. My hair was blowing all over the place. I pulled it away from my eyes, and Mr. Shaw said, "You have a distinctive face." I wasn't sure what he meant by that, but it sounded like an insult. Before I could show him how distinctive my scowl could be, he added, "Our security camera captured some interesting footage the night the light was broken. I reviewed it after you confessed, and sure enough, there you are, clear as day, vandalizing my property. I decided to hold on to the video in case you started stirring up trouble again. He raised his eyebrows. Glad I did. My face froze. My insides turned glacial. Just when I decided to start speaking my mind, my voice plummeted to the pit of my stomach. How about this? I take down the post, you don't tell anyone about this nest, and I won't turn the video of my property being damaged over to the authorities. Mr. Shah was smiling again, a bright toothpaste ad-worthy smile. Deal? What would Dad think if I got in trouble with the police? What would Aunt Michelle say if she heard I'd been charged with a crime? Then she told me so. I must have taken too long to consider because a smile faded from Mr. Shaw's face, and he said, "Don't try me. If it comes to it, the eggs will be gone. Get my drift?" You can't do that, I bought. It's illegal to disturb a nest. Tell me this. If there aren't any eggs to be found, who's to say there was ever a nest here? You, a girl visiting from out of state that saw what? A patch of sand that looked slightly different than the rest of the beach, Mr. Shaw snickered. Please, like that's proof of anything? The video, on the other hand, so what do you say? The posts go away, we pretend there's nothing but a path here, and we both go on about our lives. I took a deep breath before responding. You promise you'll leave the eggs alone? Sheesh, he wheezed. Scout's honor, or whatever it is kids say these days. And the lights on the Beachcomber, I pressed, will you make them turtle friendly? You're kidding, right? Don't push your luck, kid. Really, you have nothing to bargain with here. If anything, I'm doing you a favor. I took my time, but at last I said, okay. I hated myself for giving in. But what choice did I have? What was that? I said, okay. He broke back into a toothy grin. See there? It isn't so hard to be a good neighbor. He clapped me on the back before ripping the remaining post out of the sand. Then he carried my barrier with him through the gate. He whistled as he made his way toward the inn. Page 152, chapter 17, and our little tidbit is, hatchlings typically choose to emerge from the nest during the night. If Lainey thought I had a shell at the beginning of the summer, it was nothing compared to the days and weeks after I made the deal with Mr. Shaw. I had more reason than ever to hide in my room. It was easier to separate myself from everyone than pretend everything was fine. I promised Mr. Shaw I wouldn't tell anyone about the nest. I had to keep that promise or the eggs would be gone. My silence didn't mean I couldn't keep an eye on it, though. Every night, I snuck out to my spot between the dunes. I collected pieces of sea glass, and when it was quiet next door, I walked down the beach and inspected the sand near the Beachcomber's gate for any signs of change. Then I cleared the path of chairs and umbrellas that had been forgotten on the beach. Each morning, I returned to see if the eggs had hatched and to make sure the nest hadn't been disturbed. After a while, something odd caught my attention. One night a week, the Beachcomber went dark. The light I'd broken had quickly been replaced, but on Tuesdays after sunset, it was turned off. So were the rest of the outdoor lights on the Beachcomber's property. I figured Mr. Emerson was doing what he could to help since he was the only person who knew about the nest besides me and Mr. Shaw. It was a nice thought, but what were the chances the eggs would hatch on a Tuesday? When Aiden was around, we fell into steady rhythm. I listened to him talk about an upcoming Rubik's tournament and how he'd shaved another 10 seconds off his best time. After we'd gone snorkeling, he was more himself around me, playful and kind, but he grew serious every time he spoke about his grandpa. He feared Mr. Shaw was only keeping Mr. Emerson on until the end of the summer. As the weeks came and went, I was engulfed by island time. It happened every summer. Dad always said it was like living in a vacuum where things passed by sort of slow and fast all at once. Slow because everything happened at a leisurely pace, and fast because before you knew it, entire months had gone by in the blink of an eye. We're going to stop there Fourth Grade Champions on page 153. And next time we'll start on page 154. We're almost finished with this amazing book. I hope you have a really good day. Take care of yourselves. Let me try that again. Take care of yourselves and stay safe. Bye.